Welcome, everybody. It is May the 1st, 2026. This is going to be episode number 92, coming to you live from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and really in the middle of Tennessee also, because Danny has joined us tonight. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Jason. How are you doing?
Oh, I can't complain. I've had a lot of interesting news that has came up, but we may get to that a little bit in this episode. I don't know. I haven't really decided. But I'll tell you what, I can tell you this. We had an awesome time in North Carolina / Tennessee. And we saw over 20. We saw about 20 bears while we were there. And that's some of the swag that I got from the North Carolina Homicide Investigator Association, they're a friend of the show. They watch, some of them watch. And actually it was an incredible time. As a matter of fact, Danny came there and he watched me speak. Let's hear it. How was it?
Hey, I was very impressed. I'm not just saying it because we're friends. I heard you speak probably about 15, 17 years ago, if you remember, in our class. You did awesome, man. You had everybody on the edge of the seats for 4 hours. I mean, that's hard to do. You got to know what you're doing to do that.
I've grown accustomed to the 4-hour lecture. The 4-hour ones, I'm good. Hey, Troy, welcome. I'm glad you're here from Katie's, Kentucky. I'm going to see you next week, and I'm looking forward to it, buddy. Go ahead and start chilling the beer now. I'm coming to Kentucky, and I'm looking forward to it. Phyllis, welcome. I love to see you here. Travis from Muskogee, welcome. Steph's generally here almost every week from Michigan. Love it. And Steph's from Virginia. I'll tell you what. One of the things that I love to do, and not only was I in North Dakota, North
Carolina.
I know, but it's in my brain because I may be speaking there sometime down the line. But one of the things that I love to do, and I talk about this all the time, I like to get a tag signed. And the guys from North Carolina, they came through, and I loved it. We had a crowd of about 150 some odd people there, and they were tremendous. I really had a good time, but before that, the week before that, I couldn't go live last week because Danny and I were going to try to do something special and do like a on location, but the Wi-Fi sucked. There was nothing we could do. We were in the Great Smoky Mountains and it was just horrible. But the one from Louisiana is pretty slick too. I got to show you that. And so the story I want to tell you briefly, if you don't follow me on my Facebook page, Amanda, throw up that picture that's got the picture of me holding up this tag. Yeah, there you go. So look right there. I want to thank Renee. Renee is in the bottom right. And I went to this wrecking yard just to tell you this story real quick. While I was in that wrecking yard, I couldn't find a tag anywhere. I waited till the absolute last minute. And I'm sitting there going, oh, man, I'll find an antique shop somewhere in Louisiana. They got to be everywhere. Well, it turns out they're really few and far between, like almost non-existent. And when I went into one or two that looked like they could have been an antique shop, what it was basically there was no tags in there. I've never been into an antique shop that didn't have any license plates. And they were like, yeah, well, I know somebody that's got some on his garage and he lives down, 17 miles. I was in Cajun country, man. I mean, really in the heart of the Cajunville. And so from there, I thought, well, there was a wrecking yard just down the road. I'll just run over there and see. They've got to have a tag on their cars. There was no tags visible on any of these. And so I started explaining myself to this guy that I'm going to call him the King Cajun because, I mean, literally, it was backwoods Louisiana. Yes. And so I had to explain all of this stuff to them. And I explained it. And finally, I had to explain it again to the girl that works in the office. And then I had to explain it to a couple of customers that walked up. And then finally, I said, hey, listen, I just need a tag off of one of these cars. And they grabbed this one. And what's cool about this tag, I'm just going to tell you, it says public on there. See that? And so this tag actually came off of a actual police car that was sitting there from Marksville, Louisiana. And they're like, yeah, the guys in the audience, when I was speaking, they're like, where in the heck did he get a public tag? Because they just don't give those out. And so the girl goes, well, I said, I want to buy that because I just needed to get on with it. And so I said, I'll buy it. And she goes, well, I'm thinking like $50. And I said, I'm thinking like 20, and only because of the novelty of this and because I really need it and I need to hit the road. But it really should be 10, but I'll give you a 20. But she actually joined us for the show in Louisiana. And I have to mention this. Amanda, throw that picture up with me holding that gator. There was, while I was in Louisiana, you see me holding that alligator. As you see me holding that gator, guess what?
It's not real. There it is.
They gifted it to me. How cool is that? Okay. This thing is 7 feet long. And it's 7 feet long. How incredible is that? And I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, I'm going to build a shelf sometime down the line. It is awesome.
Yeah. It's not real.
It's priced. There was actually gators in the lobby of the hotel. And so I was like, how cool is that? And there it is right there in front of my fireplace, because I haven't found a place yet. But once the grandson got used to it, because he's like, now that's got to go. And I was like, it's okay. It's metal. It's okay.
He finally warmed up to it.
He did. He finally warmed up to it, and it's great. So anyway, nevertheless, I just wanted to mention that I've had a really busy couple of weeks. Middle of this coming up week, I'm going to be heading to Indiana, and then I'll see Kristie. I'm going to see Kristie. I'll probably say hello to her. I think she's going to join us for Troy's event. Welcome, Miranda. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming. And JP Porter, appreciate it. Rebecca, I just want to make sure I mention some of you guys. It's so cool, isn't it, Rebecca? The gator is cool. And so his name is Leroy. They actually named him Leroy. And I'm gonna give a shout out to the homicide crew of Shreveport, Louisiana, because it was their bright idea to do that. And thank heavens I had a rental car to do it with. So very cool. And I just make great friends all over this country, and I'm honored and I'm blessed. And so if anybody's listening from Louisiana, I am going to have at least one guest, maybe two, that are going to come on from that conference, and a couple from North Carolina as well. And I'm really looking forward to introducing people to them. And it was just a great time. Hey, Pat, good that you're here, buddy. He's my big homie and my sensei. And thanks I appreciate you being proud of me, and I'm proud of you, buddy. So he's a good dude. Listen, let's get right after this. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. It's so exciting. I love to be here for live episodes. I appreciate it. Guess what? I don't know if we're going to be able to do. Hey, Chris, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this tonight, but they have set up something to where actually we can take phone calls now. How cool is that? That's going to be really a lot of fun. And I don't know how that's going to work necessarily, but we'll figure it out. And right. I just want to tell everybody, welcome. I'm glad to be here. We're glad to be live, and it's fun for me. I like going live. So let's just do this. I'm going to talk about Kristie Randolph. She was episode number 3 of this show. And, she's had some things happen. And one of which is that she's running for city commissioner in Henderson, Kentucky. And that's exciting stuff. And I wanted to bring her on, give her an opportunity to talk to us and maybe help her out a little bit, and to talk about what it is that she's running for, what she can bring to the table. I'd also like to hear about the Chloe Randolph Foundation, or the organization there that's Chloe Randolph, which is in honor of her daughter, who was unfortunately tragically killed, and she was murdered. And basically she runs a organization out there in Henderson, Kentucky, that is there for domestic violence victims. And it's basically become her life. And she does a lot of work for that. And it's really admirable. And she's been a friend of mine for the last few years now. And I really honor our friendship, and that's great. So anyway, let's bring Kristie on from Henderson. Thank you, Kristie, for being here. One of my good friends.
Welcome, Kristie.
Yeah, hey there, I love having my Kentucky friends. I've got so many in Kentucky, but you're one of the special ones, and I appreciate you coming on here. It's awesome. I love Kentucky. It's my second most popular state that I speak in, and I'm excited about it. So anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself, Kristie. Tell us a little bit about that organization that you're running.
Well, it's the Chloe Randolph Organization. It is in honor of my daughter, Chloe, who unfortunately was brutally murdered in a domestic violence situation, March 23rd, 2019. by her estranged, soon to be ex husband in his apartment with her then 9-month-old son, Slim, in the apartment, who is now 7, going on 40 in his next midlife crisis, who will actually be 8 in June. And she was brutally murdered. And Henderson at the time didn't acknowledge domestic violence, even though it had been happening for years and it has happened across the country for years. They just didn't talk about it. They just didn't think it was relevant enough to talk about it. And we didn't want her death to be in vain. We wanted her story to be told so that there would not be another Chloe, and maybe we could help somebody not be in that situation. So we created the Chloe Randolph Organization, and they probably wish I would go away sometimes because I'm very vocal about what we don't have, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and all of that. And the one thing that I have been very adamant about is Henderson sits in between Evansville, Indiana, and Owensboro, Kentucky. Both cities have domestic violence shelters, and we do not. And people don't understand that a domestic violence shelter is different than a homeless women's shelter, a homeless men's shelter, because your address cannot be publicized, and you have to have security in place. That way, if you take someone in, the abuser doesn't find where the victim is, and then potentially come and murder the victim themselves, murder suicide, or maybe hurt the individuals that's in the facility. So that's something we're really pushing forward and hard on. I have to put together a plan of action that I think hopefully finally they're gonna, get in and say the city of Henderson, and say, hey, this is something we really need. And hopefully we do have like a little transitional spot that's for X amount of people, but the moment anything's available, it's already filled. Like I took 2 or 3 calls today. So that's something we're really working on. We're very big in the school systems, not only just Henderson County, but others, teaching the teen dating violence program, Chloe's Voice, because, domestic violence in teens and young kids start as early as 6th grade. By 8th grade, it's really ramped up. And by high school, they've had 2 or 3 already domestic situations. And I'm very active in the court system. I'm a courtroom advocate. I'm a community advocate. So I'm out in the community a lot doing different things, because people don't understand that domestic violence has subcomponents such as mental health, drug and alcohol issues, homelessness, which all of these are subcomponents of that and are very big in our community. Food insecurity as well. We do have Slim, who we adopted. Jay and I adopted. Like I said, he'll be 8 next month. And he looks like his mama. He acts like his mama, very much so like her, very straightforward. And so I may not have Chloe in the live being, but I have the next best thing in the Slim Man.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'll tell you what, I'm going to share this with you, Kristie. When I come out there, I'm going to let you take a look at this. But I just went and I spoke at a benefit like 2 days ago that they actually provide backpacks that are they're just full of items like a pillow and a blanket.
Warrior bags. They're called warrior bags.
Warrior.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's really cool. And the organization that puts this together here in Tulsa, I didn't even know about it. And they've been doing it for like 10 years. And it's like for kids that are exposed to PTSD type situations or trauma. Yeah. And I thought, man, what a worthy cause. And I'm going to share that when I go to California and Washington State as well.
What all's in a warrior bag, Kristie?
Do what?
What all's in a warrior bag?
Well, the pillow is supposed to be, if you're in, like, say you get taken into foster care or you go to a shelter, and then maybe you finally get a place, like you've gotten out of a situation with your mom or dad, and you've gotten back into like your own first household out of this situation. You get to take the pillow from where you're at, and you get to carry it through with your journey. But warrior bags have socks, underwear, personal hygiene, laundry items. It's just a variety of what you put in there. Like ours, we put personal hygiene of all kinds, depending on who I'm giving it to, laundry items, the pillows, if we have them. We were very fortunate this past year that Gerling Law Office in Evansville, Indiana, who's very supportive of us as well, gave us like 100 warrior bags that we could, do during Christmas and whatever we had left. But it just kind of depends on what we put in there and what we have. But our goal behind it is, you leave a situation and we can replace all of that: clothing, personal hygiene, even furniture and stuff, but we can't replace you. So we want you to have something to feel normal with when we give you those.
Good.
Yeah, the company or basically the organization that I'm talking about here in Tulsa is Joy in the Cause. And
Okay.
it's really, thanks Pat for mentioning that. And hello, Carrie and Aaron from Indiana. By the way, Aaron in Indiana, Kristie mentioned when we're going to have an event. We're having an event
We
October the
are.
10th, and it's going to
Um,
be at Bally's Casino.
it is. It's
Tell
in
us.
the riverfront room. So if you're local and it's not like the casino is this direction. So you go across the walkway, and then it takes you to the riverfront. So you're overlooking the Ohio River. But it's called Whiskey and Wildfire, Boots, Bling, and Big Hearts, and it's about coming out and honoring Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It has a theme, Rip and Beth theme, and some people were like, "Why that theme?" It kind of is to identify you have this situation of domestic violence, but we can make people understand what it is if we educate people. So it's a fun time to come out. We have a band that will be there. We're going to do some other things. We're going to bring you out because I brought you in like 2 years ago. And Henderson, I think Henderson is like your number one goal in Kentucky town that loves you to death. And so we did really
They
great on
are.
that event and people coming out and listening to you. So we're going
Yeah,
to hope to duplicate that again and have some other
absolutely.
things as we're going forward. But it's like a dinner as well, and just a really good time to. It's a fundraiser for Domestic
Is
Violence
there
Awareness Month, and
is there a
so
cost for somebody to go to this event? Just out of
it will
curiosity.
be. It will be, and we're going to post the link probably by June 1st, if not sooner. Um,
Yeah.
Really,
Oh,
you have the option of to be a table sponsor or other sponsors, or you can buy a ticket to come for
okay.
the event and dinner. It's
Okay.
not a free event this time.
Well,
But
okay, but
I think
nevertheless, Kristie, here's one of those things like Aaron in Indiana. Listen up,
that's
not
right.
just you, but anybody in that tri-state area. Actually, anywhere if you want to go, this is one of the very rare events that I actually speak at, and
Yes.
so come join us, and I will blow your mind probably, but you will have a good time. And I actually do a meet and greet, and I'll stay as
Yes.
long as they'll
The
allow
meet
me to
and
stay.
greet we're gonna do before the event, but then, we'll still do it afterwards. You know, we'll be there all night if we need to be.
I think
That's
Tyler
right.
Burns is in the
There's a
house.
hotel
He'll
there.
be there as well, I think.
Do what?
Well,
Tyler Burns.
yeah,
Uh,
Yes,
he's
I
from
know who you're
India.
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's in the chat room. He said I think he'll probably be there.
Well,
Oh,
good.
really? Well,
I love
he lives in
I did a
Fort Wayne.
podcast with
Yeah.
Yeah, and you both did, and
him.
so I
Yes.
think you did too, Danny. So it'll be Fort Wayne, Indiana, is where he's coming from, and he's going to see me in June too, because I'll be in Indianapolis. But that's a different event, and that's not open to the public. But anyway, so I wanted to make mention of that, and that's a really big deal. The real reason that I bring you on here, though, Kristie, is because you are running for office,
I
and so
am.
is Troy. So is Troy Belt. I mentioned there you are. You're running
There I
in
am.
Henderson, and I love it. And this is good because I want to hear about this. First of all, what is a city commissioner, and how is this whole election going to happen? And when it's right around it's not going to be too far off. So what's it all about?
So there's four sitting commissioners. In Henderson, it's four city commissioners, the mayor, and then you have a city manager. So normally there's 8 that runs and we go to November. However, this year there is 10. So May 19th is primary and we run, and unfortunately 2 has to fall off and then we go to November. So I'm really excited to get to May 19th so I can go on to November. Um, I chose to run for city commissioner about 4 years ago. It was on my mind to run, but I felt like I needed to do some other things before I got to that. 2 years ago, I was chomping at the bit, and I tell somebody else, I'll give you 2 more years, and then that's it. I'm running. And so I chose to run this year. I was kind of conflicted over there was another spot I could potentially run in, and that would be in something that I'm very active in that area. And so I chose city commissioner because I thought I could do more. And city commissioners, they're very active with public safety, with infrastructure, affordable housing, and I'm very active with our police department in what I do. And I felt like, we needed to address some of our issues, such as domestic violence, mental health, homelessness, and all of that. And there was just some things that transpired that I didn't necessarily agree with. And I'm very big on, I think you should have a voice and you matter. You should be seen and you should be heard. And so when I was out in the community as an advocate, that's what I heard all the time. So I'm kind of doing what I would do as a commissioner now, but I'm not in that role because I'm in a spot where people trust me. They know they can come to me. And even if I don't know the answer, I know who to go to. And that's what I'm very big on. I'm not stepping into this spot running as a politician. I'm running as an advocate. And I will never tell you that I have every answer and we're going to get it done and fixed, because that would be setting myself up for failure, you up for failure, and we would never accomplish anything. And as this journey progressed, I felt like we took the voice away from our community. We told them what we wanted them to hear, and we didn't give them a voice. We didn't give them a platform to be seen or heard or anything. So they lost trust in us as a government. And so, when I look at somebody and they say, why would I do? Because I sit on an inner city committee, and one of the things that as our committee public safety, we put in Ring doorbell cameras, and it was supposed to be not to watch what they had going on at their house, but for crime and other things that went on, maybe wrecks or a crime that happened or something. And their answer to me was, why would I do that? Nobody does anything for us. They don't listen to us. They don't want to hear our voice. So why should we do anything for the police department or city government? And that was really very disheartening because, here's people that live in our community that want to be seen, they want to be heard, and something may to them be very important, but maybe not as important. But everything that anybody would bring to me would be important because they want an answer.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that all of our policies and procedures are being followed, because I don't feel that they are. We're not transparent. We're not accountability. We don't have accountability for what we do. One of the questions they asked at a forum other night that I was part of is, if we were a divided community, what would you do? Well, we're already divided. In order to gain trust back, we have to have those conversations. We have to readily be available and let those people know that we're there for them unconditionally, not when it's convenient for us.
Right.
And, if we had a situation where it was we made a decision on something and there was a lot of back, like people didn't approve of it or whatever. And I'm one of those that you stand your ground on your decision that you voted on. Don't run and don't hide. Take accountability for what you chose to do. Own it. And I'm very big on that. And, if I made a decision on something that we voted on, I don't want to run from that decision. I want our community to understand why I decided that, and I want to listen to them. That way I can maybe understand their side and they can understand me, but I would still be in that decision making. I just, I want us to, as we're evolving in Henderson, we have a major highway coming in, and I don't know that we're prepared for all of what's going to come, like, the crime that's potentially going to come with it, the domestic violence, the homelessness. And as we're evolving, because we need to evolve, we need to be able to handle both of that. This highway, and when you were here, Jason, Highway 41 goes to Evansville. And so this new highway we have coming in is going to cut some of the traffic off from that. And I'm very big on how we're going to revitalize this, because we actually, I'm partaking in something that's going to start May 19th and go for the summer. Two Wheel Tuesday, which is bike night. And I put it there on purpose to, hey, this was our big thoroughfare. We don't need to, all of these residents, all of the businesses, small businesses, big businesses have been there through good times, bad times, ugly times, and everything in between. And, if we don't address how to revitalize that area, then, and those businesses go out, we have another issue. We have a huge homeless issue here anyway, the unhoused, depends on how you address it. So if those businesses go out of business, where do you think those individuals are going to go to? So we have two issues we need to address. So I'm really excited to get going and get past May 19th and get on to a November to remember. And hopefully I'm in that spot and I'm in that office. And, I don't have an issue in saying no to something I don't agree with, or saying yes to something I think we need. And
Right.
so I'm excited.
not only are you running, but Jay, who happened to be, he's in the house, he's watching. And Jay Randolph, who's her husband, he's running for what office as well? What's he running for?
It is Magistrate District 4, which is the inner city. Well, it's a county position, but 99.9% of it is in the city, except for one road. So he's running for magistrate. That was a spot that I contemplated running for. But I knew he really wanted to run for that. So I allowed him to. I did that gracious thing as the wife. I allowed him to do
You
that.
can run against him, I guess.
Well, we could have, because there was a point where he was going to run for commissioner, but I would have beat him. So
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it in the house. I probably wouldn't. Probably wouldn't be a wise move, but
probably
but
not.
but I think that's great that you both really want to be a part of your community and you're trying to do something to better it. And so, out of the candidates, I'm sure, did you grow up there, Kristie?
Yes, I grew up in Henderson, born and raised in Henderson.
Yeah, and I think that makes
I'm
it
from
different.
Henderson too, Kristie.
Oh, okay. You live here now?
No, Tennessee.
Okay.
That's my little
Henderson,
town. My little town's not very big. How big is Henderson there in Kentucky?
You can correct me, Jay, if you want. That'll be the only time I say that. I think we're about 27,000.
It's a nice town. It's actually a really cool town. It's got a neat downtown area, and it's a cool little town. I really enjoyed it there. And there's a lot of you're right next door to Evansville. So in Evansville, pretty cool place too. Yeah. So what do so as it stands, people are going to go vote on May, what's the date again?
May 19th, Tuesday, May 19th is primary day.
That's a big day.
So what'll happen is the commissioner race is nonpartisan. So there's 10 of us. I'm number 7 on the ballot, number 1 for Henderson. 2 will fall off, and then we'll go to November with 8. There's 4 sitting commissioners. 3 are rerunning. 1 is not. Actually, the one that's not running, his nephew is running, Chris. Really great guy. He really is. I think if we're both elected, him and I could do really great things. So we'll see. So 4 of us will be decided, and then we will take office in January.
Nice.
No, that's good. I like that. So if you but you guys are so you're going to go through this one. If you make it to that, you need to vote for her. Actually, if you live, I'm just going to put this out there. I'm going to put this out as a plug. I've known Kristie for the last 2 to 3 years. I think 3 years now, actually, Kristie. And
that was in 24. Was it 24?
Okay, so it's been 2.5 years probably. And I'll tell you what, she is definitely passionate about doing good, and so is Jay, actually. But they're both very committed to doing the right thing for victims of domestic violence, for sure. And you certainly both have experienced something in your personal lives that you can empathize to a whole nother level. And so I think that's great. I really do. I think it's definitely worth a look. And I certainly am behind you. And I don't have any hesitation at all that you would do a great job. I mean, I don't know where you find the energy right now just to deal with what you deal with. You go to court, you're always in the courtroom and as an advocate, and you do all that stuff. Not to mention, don't you have like Chloe's closet as well?
I have Chloe's closet. It's actually at my office. So if you're somewhat local, I am downtown Henderson across from the fire department at the intersection of Washington and Green. So I have 2 sides to the office. I have one side that's advocacy, which is the office side, and the other side is Chloe's closet. And the point behind it is to be successful on your new journey free of abuse. Because, a lot of times people will leave with themselves or themselves and their children with what they have on their back, or that prevents them from leaving because they won't have anything. And so we have clothing, personal hygiene, we have a space upstairs that I would love to do something with, and we were scheduled to, but we're having a little bit of issue with the chimney that's up there. But I would love to turn that into a parenting time center. But we have furniture, and if I don't have it, I have a way to find it. So it's for you to maybe go on to your journey with clothing, whatever you need, dishes, So like tomorrow, I'm open from 10:30 to 12:30. Everything's free. Um, I will never charge for anything. I think that defeats the purpose. And I've had people ask why I don't. That's just something I don't want to do. You know, there's a lot of times that if we're out of personal hygiene stuff, because people donate clothing and stuff, and they personal hygiene and food, because we do food now as well. Because I'm very big on food insecurity, and we need to address that. But a lot of times, we just, as the organization, buys that stuff out of the organization to make sure that we have it. So yeah, we have men, women, and children. And so tomorrow there could be anywhere from 2 people to 30 people in there. And they fill out, yes, what somebody asked, said something about the chimney. What it was is we had flooring ready and everything to go. Like we were going to make rooms. I also wanted it to be like a safe space up there until we got somebody where they needed to go. And it rained and it came down through the chimney and it came down into the office. And then who we rent the building from, they're really good. They are, and they're very good to us. It's just how do we address that without tearing the roof up? And this,
Yeah.
so we need to figure out a plan there because that's just dead space up there that I think we could do something with. And we have 2 basements too that right now has our extra stuff for events and other stuff that people drop off. And we're constantly, putting new stuff in there and doing different stuff. And actually, I had somebody that was helping me for the longest time. She actually moved to Katie's. It's actually Jay's aunt, who's more like his mother. And I'm trying to convince her to come back, but she had to go down there and take care of somebody else. So I'm always need volunteers too, because we're very big in the Ford Center in Evansville, Indiana. That's one of the ways in between our own events and grants that we do get, ways that we fund the organization too.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Even
Ford Center's like it's the huge arena there in Evansville.
it
And,
is downtown
and what's,
Evansville.
and one of the things that you also do, and I don't remember all the ins and outs of it, but one of the things that you do is you actually run the concession booth, one of the concession booths up there, and
Yes.
you actually utilize people that are that you have a lot of girls, a lot of females that were helping out with that. What was there? Are they doing that for community service, or what is
Yes,
the deal on that?
we have a different group we're using right now. They're actually out of Evansville. Um, they've gotten it- they've gotten into some issues with addiction and some other issues. And so they're being kind of a reentry program. So we
Yeah.
actually have girls and guys, and they come and they're very good. Like I had my normal volunteers and my board members, but we run so many events there because the nonprofits come in and work the booths. And so, for example, February out of 28 days we ran 22 events.
Oh
And so
my
we come in
gosh.
and work the events, the hockey, all the concerts that come in, and we do
Yeah.
really well. Obviously you have to think outside of the box, in between grants, because grants right now are very competitive. We do not receive federal funding. We're trying to work our way there, but unfortunately, they've been cut in half so much. So if we were eligible for it, we probably wouldn't get it. And then
Yeah.
some state and community grants, and everything's just very competitive because everybody needs funding. So we have been there. I think we decided the other day I had been there 4 years. So in between the Ford Center, we do our own events. And like I said, May 19th, we're going to start every Tuesday, Two Wheel Tuesday, in partnership with Bluegrass Biker News and Applebee's of Henderson. And then we have the event that you will be here for, and we have a golf scramble and some other things. Because
Yeah.
then we go into the fall and we do Christmas for families that need Christmas. They need food. They
Yeah.
need other things. And so once we hit October, it's crazy, more crazy than
Yeah.
it already is until the first of the year.
Not just domestic violence stuff, but just the needy in general. Huh?
Yes, like this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I am part of the Kentucky Judicial Commission for Mental Health and how it relates to domestic violence, and we have a huge gap. And I'm sure that's across the nation, but here in Henderson, we have a very big gap in providers for mental health. We need a mobile crisis unit. I had submitted something on that, and that I still think that we can make that work with another community agency. We could split it. So this is Mental Health Awareness Month that plays an integral part of domestic violence, and it's very important. And for PTSD. And so every month has something that we're associated with and how we bring awareness.
Yeah.
What
I'll
was
tell you.
that domestic violence hotline? I looked it up earlier. Was it 87888 or something? I forgot what it was.
I can post it for you. It's the National Domestic Violence Line. Um,
Yeah, throw it on there. But I'll tell you what, Kristie, and that's the one thing just for those of you that are listening, you're sitting there going, you're sitting there with your boyfriend or your husband, and you're like, what do you want to do tonight, honey? And this is a Saturday night event, isn't it? Isn't it, Kristie?
it is. It is. It
Yeah.
is.
So as you're sitting there, and we talked about this when we were out, when I was out
Yeah.
there the last time in Henderson, and I said, people are going to be sitting there and they're going to be going, what do you want to do tonight, honey? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? Hey, well, there's that domestic violence event. Let's go to that. That sounds like fun. Listen, I'm telling you, it was actually a neat event. It's pretty interesting. It's really interesting, actually, where some of the survivors of domestic violence get up and they actually share their stories.
Yeah.
And then of course I got up there and I spoke. I think I spoke for about an hour, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I do the real deal. I mean, I talk about the real life stuff, and I'm not trying to shock people, but in fact, I think people need to see what's going on, and to kind of wake them up a little bit. And we actually, I don't know what the actual number was total, but I think we got close to 200 people that showed up to that event, if I'm not mistaken.
We had 250 because
Oh,
to explain this event a little bit, we started originally, we became an organization in August of 2019. So that first October, we were kind of virtual. And you have to remember, we go into COVID. So we're still kind of virtual. Then we came out of that and we were in Central Park, which is right down by my office. And we did a little thing for like 2 years. And then that would have been 21, 22. So you must have came in 23. You did. You came in 23. It's interesting because I didn't know you from Adam. All I did was send this message like, hey, I would really love for you to come in, and here's my story, and here's why I want you here. And I thought, he's either going to answer me or he's not. And you did. And you probably thought, and the whole time I'm laughing to Jay, and I told him, I said, this man's probably going to think I'm crazy. And so I did. And I have the best conversations like that. That's how I meet most people. Hey,
yeah.
I want to do this. Hey. And so that was not even planned that way. We redirected the whole thing to make that event happen. And it was really great. Everybody came and
because I told you, I said, listen, we can't just do this in the park where I'm like, hey, everybody, we need to kind of have a deal where we have some seating. Let's do something special. And you guys went above and beyond. Honestly, you really did. Hey, by the way, if the people that are listening right now, by the way, this is the first time this has ever happened ever in the history of this show. And we're on episode number 92 is you can actually call the number 315-559-0331, which is on your screen. And you can actually call in right now and we'll hear your voice, and you can call in if you have a question or you want to speak with, and you may not want to. Out of all the people that are in here, nobody may call, but that's okay. But if you want to call in, you could be the very first caller and you could ask any one of us a question or just say hello and that you love the show or whatever, but that's up to you. And so if somebody comes in, well, I'll see if somebody ends up calling, but you're welcome to call in to say hi to Kristie and just tell her personally that I think what you do is actually very admirable. It takes a lot. It's a huge sacrifice in your life. I could see where many times you've probably sat in your living room, maybe not, but I could see you've probably sat there and go, what are we doing here? You're hitting brick walls probably constantly with just, you're trying to fund this thing every day. I mean, it's not easy. And so, and not only that, but you guys created a law too.
We did. It was called, every state has a slayer law. Kentucky was antiquated, hadn't been changed or anything. And kind of how that came about was Chloe was not divorced. She was murdered on Saturday. She would have been divorced on Tuesday. Her next of kin was the person that murdered her husband. So he had control of her remains. So he was caught in West Memphis, Arkansas, with his cousin or friend. We're still not clear who that person was, Isaac. The detective here in Henderson, Detective Eisenhood, who I love to death, and to this day we still talk, said that Isaac saved Slim. That if it wasn't for that Gabriel probably would have killed Slim. I 100% believe that. And so We didn't get Slim that night. His one last act of control was, I want him to go to foster care. I'm not giving him up, especially to her dad. So we petitioned the court Monday for custody of her body and for Slim. And who was our family court judge then, Judge Sheila Ferris, who I absolutely love. I love our current family court judge now, David Curlin, who actually played an integral part in Chloe's case then. But we got Slim on that Tuesday. So we got him, best thing that ever happened. But with the Slayer law, since he was next of kin, we had to wait these 5 days out. Even though he knew he killed her, he didn't exercise his rights, but he didn't waive his rights. And that was the one thing that we wanted to change, because you've murdered her. Now you want control of her body? So he could have burned her, shoulder in her casket with what happened. So at the time, our state representative was a former judge, Rob Wiederstein, and we went to him. And they were out of session because you go back into session in January of every year. And so he researched 2 ways to do it from a New York case. And we got it changed, and it's called the Chloe Randolph Act. And it was presented in January of 20. It was Senate Bill 66. And it went, so Rob Wiederstein asked us, would we agree to let our state senator, who's Robbie Mills from Henderson, present it? Because he was the one that was going to get it passed. And Robbie did. There was no issue with that at all, because I mean, it was a bill that needed to be passed and changed a long time ago. So it went quickly through. And when Jay testified up there in legislation, of course, COVID happens. And they told me on 4/24/20 that the bill was going to die out and we were going to have to restart it in January. And we fought that day to that afternoon. And luckily, the governor passed it, and it was meant to be, because it was 4/24/20, and that's Henderson's zip code.
Oh,
Wow.
awesome.
That
That's
is
perfect.
So it's in law. So
meant to
I have to have somebody. So we want to take that bill, and we want to go to each state, and we want to put Chloe Randolph Act into play. Some of them have been changed, some of them haven't, but we have to have somebody to present the bill. So I originally wanted to do Illinois, Indiana, Tennessee, because we're right there together. So I'm trying to get into Oklahoma, which you're trying to research that for me. I think I have an in into Florida and to Virginia. So I'm
Good.
trying to get that changed too. I'm also trying to change the current stalking law and how it reads in Kentucky, because unfortunately I have a stalker, and I have for like 3 or 4 years. Jay and I both do. And it's really a long story, but it's really just an individual that harasses us on a daily. And that stalking law in Kentucky is a gray area, because it doesn't apply on an EPO, because stalking is a criteria for an EPO, which is emergency protective order, that becomes a domestic violence order, DVO. So I'm trying to change that. And the one thing that I do want to change, and Tennessee got it passed this past year, was the domestic violence registry. And I was really upset about, not that they got it passed, but the fact that I dropped the ball on that and I wasn't on that like I should have been. And I feel like it's important. And our sheriff and our police department is behind that. Our county attorney is, because that's something that would help our law enforcement. It would help other individuals, especially if you have somebody that has a past of domestic violence and they get arrested. We're going to have to tweak the wording of how we want it in Kentucky. We need to meet with who passed it and got it going in Tennessee to see how they can help us. And so that's something that I'm wanting to do too. I've got this long list of things I need to get done.
Kristie, good news.
What?
You're going to be here for the very first caller, and it's going to be Tyler Burns from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Welcome, Tyler. Tell us.
Hey, Tyler.
What's up?
Am I caller number 1?
Caller number 1. You won.
I win the concert ticket.
Yeah, you won it. Congratulations.
Kristie, I have a question for you.
Okay.
And you may have already answered this, but again, I apologize for being late. What made you decide to run for a political office position? And How did you get the courage to do that? Because I'll be honest with you, I have zero desire to ever run for political office, but there's so many things that need changed where I live.
Well, I'm very big in the community. And after I listened to so many individuals that felt like their voice wasn't being heard, they weren't being seen, they were irrelevant, they were being talked down to and told what they needed to hear. That, along with there was some things that Chloe Randolph Organization was lied to about. So that played a part. And I was very big on you having a voice and you matter. And I have Slim, Jay and I are raising Slim, and I don't want Slim, because he'll be 10 years from now, to go, I don't want to be here. This is not somewhere I want to live, because there's so many people that say, I don't even want to be here. I don't like how government is. I don't like how this is. So I threw my name in there. And, it took courage and strength to do that, because, sometimes you take ridicule of, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't be here, you're not in that place, you're not worthy of this, you're not this. And I'm fortunate enough that I've always been very transparent about the things I do. I'm very upfront. I don't BS anybody. And I thought on it, like I said, 4 years ago, I considered it, but I didn't think I was in a spot I needed to. And then 2 years ago, I was chopping at the bit, but I deferred because Jay wanted to run in that spot, and I told him he had 2 years. And after that, it was on. And so I want to see Henderson evolve into what it can be. Not that we're just sitting in between Owensboro and Evansville, and this is where people go because they know we don't have enough law enforcement, and we're just this podunk town that doesn't pay attention and listen. Because I think Henderson has the potential to do great things, because we were running neck and neck with Owensboro for the longest, and then somehow they evolved past us, and we're where we are now. But I want, I've always wanted Chloe's legacy to be that she stood her ground, and she died fighting for the one thing that she protected the most, and that was her son, because a lot of times victims don't feel like they're being heard. So I just feel like we need to return the voice back to our residents, and that they should matter, and that we should allow them to have a voice and not decide what is best for them when we are running and presenting for them.
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Good.
I think that's awesome, and I think you're doing amazing things. I think between not only fighting for people that are victims of domestic violence, but also even talking about mental health. Those are two things that we don't talk about enough, and I think that's incredible. I think that's extremely brave of you, and I wish you nothing but the best and success moving forward.
So we'll see we'll see in May 19th and November. I will not be upset. I won't throw a tantrum that I didn't win and this happened. If anything, and if I ever got to that point, then I shouldn't have been running to the first place. I shouldn't have been in that position. If anything, I'll be disappointed with myself that I didn't do something correct and I should have done it better.
Yeah, agreed. I really think that there's a great chance for both you and Jay and Troy Belt, who's running for jailer down there in Trigg County. I'm his unofficial campaign manager and advisor. And he's doing good too. I think it's good that all of you are getting out there and you're pounding the pavement. You're knocking on doors. You're going to nursing homes. Because there are voters there, believe me, and you're doing your thing. And there's, ladies and gentlemen, you got to get out and vote. I know that this is just this May 19th thing. A lot of people don't go to those types of votes, but you got to go to vote if you want to have a voice in what happens in your community. And maybe you need to, I think it's always good to mix it up a little bit instead of, if I don't know, but I appreciate the question, Tyler. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, he's Tyler Burns, and he's got a podcast too called The Debrief with Tyler Burns. And he brings on some intellectual topics and so forth. And I think that's great. It is. So check it out and give him a follow. Follow this one first, of course, then follow his. But
Then Tyler Burns next. You know, you got to have them in order.
So on your Facebook page, you're gonna post this podcast on there, I hope, and then on your
Absolutely.
Facebook page, there's other information that you're posting up on there occasionally, I'm sure. You know, for the people of Henderson, and you're right, you absolutely said it, Kristie. There's a lot of people from Henderson that actually subscribe to this channel, and so that's cool, and I'm excited about that. And there's a lot of people that follow me on my Detective Jason White Facebook page, and I appreciate that too. So thank you very much. I'm just excited about this because I'm going to be watching that night. I'm going to be watching, even though I'm going to see you this coming up weekend. I think I'm going to see you at some point, right?
Yeah.
So when I see you, it's going to be great. But the night of the election, I'm going to be tuning in to see what happens, and I think that's going to be really an exciting time. And I know Jay's went through this before, right? He's been on an election where they're
He
watching.
actually won in 2022, but that's another podcast for another day.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think it's good. I think, you guys are making it. I mean, you're going to be tough. You're going to be tough. And that's what it's about. And I kind of want to run for office too. And I might. And if I do, I'm going to make a lot of really amazing changes. I just don't know what I'm going to run for yet, but I'm thinking about it. I wish I could run for the chief of the police department. And then if I would make some serious changes,
You should come run for, you should. And if he watches this, I'm sorry, Billy Boland. But if Jason White came and became Henderson, Kentucky's police chief, you just have to go, buddy. I think you should.
You think I could? You think I would be appointed? You think they would appoint me? Maybe I'm that popular there. Maybe
I think so. I do. Yeah.
I love Kentucky, and Kentucky loves me, so it's a good fit. So anyway, like I said, I think this is going to be a great thing. I think that if people wanted to donate to your Chloe Randolph organization, they certainly can do that, and that the website's been up here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, like I said, I wish you the best. I think you're doing everything right. I think your Facebook page is great. I looked through it today, and I think you're hopefully. I mean, I don't even know about the other candidates because I didn't check, but what do you really believe that your realistic chances are? Do you think you got a really good shot here?
I'm going to November. I know
that's
that.
Right. That's right. Because
Good.
failure's not an option, right?
It's not. I'm going to November.
Travis is saying state representative for me. I'm assuming he means me. Yeah, I've thought about it, buddy.
Yeah, I need you to be state representative so I can present this bill and you can present it. So I have my own agenda. I 50-50 chance in November. We'll see. I think Henderson is in an uproar enough, and we're divided enough that there's going to be a lot of upsets in May, because some races will be decided in May, and then some will be decided in November. So 50-50.
Yeah, but the key is May. You got to show up in May.
Yep.
If May doesn't happen, then November's a moot point. I love you too, Amy. Thank you for being here. Listen, I read these comments, believe it or not. I love it. And it's so good to be live. You know what?
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Kristie. That we're live tonight, and I love being live because live has got a whole nother dynamic to it than watching a recording. So I'm sorry I haven't been able to be.
I can see this message to the side. Somebody by the name of Steph wants to know, did your daughter's killer get life in prison or death? You may have said it already. Well, he got 20 years. He got, in Kentucky, the prosecuting attorney doesn't have to ask the family what they want to do. We wanted to go to trial. So, essentially he got 10 years for murder and, 5 years each for moving her body and moving her car. So he got 20 years, which was a lie too, because considering it was supposed to have been 30. Life in Kentucky is 20 years. However,
which is, by the way, a little light. That's a little light on the years. I mean, but I'm in Oklahoma where life is 45 years.
Well, when you come up for parole on a life sentence, they can flop you, is what they call it. So you could be there for 60 years. So, Bill Markwell was the Commonwealth attorney at that time, Herbie McKee's current one. And, of course, we went through COVID. It got postponed. It got this, in April of 21, the week of Good Friday, the Commonwealth attorney would never allow us to go to his office. He would always show up at my other office that I had, because this is my second office. And he would show up just randomly. And he happened to show up on a Tuesday with his binder that he's not read, doesn't know nothing, but didn't even know her name. And wanted to talk about the case. And I was like, okay. Well, I didn't tell nobody. I didn't, that he was there. The back door opens and here comes Jay. If none of you have met Jay, Jay looks like the Big Show. He's a little older now, but he looks like the Big Show from WWE. So in he comes, and there he sees him sitting there. And I do this thing because I control how Jay acts at events. If he's acting up, I'm like the death stare, like you would do a kid, like, and I'm like, oh God. And so Jay sits down and they start talking. And he says, well, I think this is a crime of passion. And I'm looking at Jay and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, how is this going to go down in a domestic violence office of, Jay has hurt this man. And so I said, look, what he wanted me to do was take a plea deal and convince Jay that was the thing to do. So the only thing I could do at that moment is say, I want to see the crime scene photos. Because, see, I wanted to ID Chloe at the crime scene. And you have to realize, if you don't understand the story, is you like this much cutting her head off.
Yeah.
So it was a violent crime. It was almost to the point of execution style.
Yeah.
So he says, you don't want to see the crime scene photos. I said, I do. So I said, I want to see those, and then we'll have a conversation.
I saw him. It was horrific. And
so I have never seen this man act so fast. The next day he comes back with the crime scene photos. And I said, I'll talk to him. I was never going to talk to him because I held one up where like this part flips back. And I said, this is an act of passion. I said, this was intent. He intended to do this. Mm-hmm. So he says, I'm going to come back on Friday. Now that's Good Friday. Nobody works on Good Friday. Most normal people don't. I do. You do, Jason, if you're in that industry. So he comes back and he wants us to take a plea deal. And luckily my other son, Jason, was there because I had to get Jason to get his daddy out of the office. And I just said, I'm not taking a plea deal. I'm not talking to him. We're going to go to trial. And he said, well, I don't understand why you want to go to trial. It wouldn't have mattered. To us, it mattered to go to trial, even if he got 3 years. There was no way he was just going to get 3 years. But it showed to those other victims that were in a domestic situation, they all mattered. Their story got to be told. Yeah. So we go through the summer, and I can't remember what this hearing was called. For the life of me, I cannot remember. It wasn't discovery. We'd already been through that. But they brought in the detective from West Memphis, and they brought in Detective Eisenhood and this responding officer. And the first time I'd ever heard this was he continued to check her body to see if she was still breathing and if she had died. At that point, I didn't know that he had made that statement. So that's what he did. So the judge, who was Judge Wilson, who is still the sitting judge now, said she had 30 days. And I was like, okay. And I had prepared my boys. I had prepared everybody. We were going to trial. So on September 13th, 2021, I told Jay, I said, I don't know. There's just something off about this day. And in my office you could come in the back. I had 3 offices, 3 different separate offices. And I had a courtyard. So I was coming in the back. And as I was coming in the back, my Ring camera's going off. Somebody's knocking on the door. And I come in and the door opened up like this. And here stood Bill Markwell. And he's waving this paper. We got what we wanted. We got what we wanted. We got murder. And I said, I'm not signing that paper. Absolutely not. Because I had already said I would defer to Jay. I would never make a decision unless I felt like I needed to because he was incapable. And so there was people in my office and they were looking at me and he said, we got 20 years for murder and 10 years for 2 counts of tampering with physical evidence, her body and her car. And I said, I'm not signing that. I will not accept that. I have to call Jay. And I called Jay and he said, we got murder. And I knew there was something wrong because the only thing he said was, okay. That's all he said. Okay. And he said, we're going to do it on September 23rd. He's going to plead and everything. You already had that planned way back in August. All you did was do what you did to appease us and try to shut us up. So I said, okay, I want her brothers in there. And he says, you can't have her brothers in there. I said, her brothers are going to be in there. They're her brothers. They're going to be there. I don't care what you got to do. So at this point, I had already started going to court, but I wouldn't sit in court because I didn't want it to be a conflict of interest. So I wasn't as dominant as I am now in there. So leading up to that day, that afternoon, Jay says, I'm not accepting that. I want to go to trial. And so I said, I don't know what we're going to do here. And so we started telling our lawyers and everybody that would listen. So the day comes. My office at that point, like I am now, was right around the corner. So I had a live feed, not out to the public, but I had 23 people on that feed, which was family and friends, our lawyers. They were so concerned of what was going to transpire in this courthouse that they closed it down to anybody coming in at 11 o'clock. So we walked to the courthouse, but we had some of our local family. They wouldn't let them in. His family was down on the corner by the library here in Henderson. They wouldn't let them come up. I had told nobody. Like, it was hush hush. The news crew was already there. I'm not sure how they knew that, but it was there. So we go in, and most cases, when you plead guilty, they bring you back 30 to 45 days later because they have to assess where you're going to go. That didn't happen either. He says, are you going to do your impact statement? And I didn't write an impact statement. I knew what I was going to say. I've always knew what I was going to say. And I was like, yeah. And he said, well, he's going to plead. We're going to do an impact statement and he's going to be gone. Okay. So I get up there. The live feed's going on. We're sitting back here, me, Jay, and the three boys. And I started questioning myself. Like I was getting, it's not nervous, but like, okay, what do I want to say? I never write anything down that I'm going to say. So they made him turn his back to me. And and when I turned and looked at my youngest son, John Michael, who had never showed any emotion, started bawling, it was on. And so I tell the judge, I said, I'm not in agreement with this. The family's not, we want to go to trial. Nobody asked us for this. This is not what we want. And then I tell them this is a sign of disrespect. He murdered my daughter. He can't even say her name. And you've got his back to me. Mm-hmm. And so they accepted the plea and they went with it. And I was on the third floor. From the third floor to the front of the courthouse, the news had done released it. Mm-hmm. And then it was Wild Kingdom because the police department was upset because they was like, why did we even do a case? You did what you wanted to do. That was a slap in our face. The community was in uproar the entire day. So he pled guilty. I read an impact statement and they had him out of that courthouse on to where he went in about 45 minutes because he was sequestered the entire time from Gen Pop because he continuously got beat up. I mean, you killed a local person. You're an outsider in the Bible Belt of Kentucky and the way you did. So he, it's North.
Well, even when he, where is he?
Northport Training Center. And so,
well, when he gets out, I mean, was that, you said 20 and 10. Is that a concurrent or consecutive?
He gets out in 2036.
So you're saying, well, all right, so it's 20, it's basically 30 running concurrent, which means to the listeners that 10 years gets absorbed by the 20. It's going to be the 20. Yeah. And that one's, so that's crazy.
So he essentially got 10 years for murder and 10 years for tampering with 2 counts of physical evidence. Yeah. So that happened. That had to happen because on November 5th, we adopted Slim. That had to happen that way for him to have a conviction. We had an earlier date planned for his adoption. But there was a good thing that got postponed because had he been adopted and he came back and did an appeal, then we would have had a whole different judge and everything. So he was adopted. Jay and I are his legal parents. Chloe, Gabriel's rights was terminated. Chloe's rights was terminated. There is an original birth certificate that has her name. He will, if he gets parole, it's 2036. He's not supposed to. It'll go to 2039. He'll be deported. I'm not naive. He's going to come back. I'm not stupid. He's going to come back because his family's
Well,
in it.
no. Well, this is what I was going to ask you, Kristie. Does he get deported? Is that a possibility, or can he get deported?
There was a thing a couple months ago where the current president was going to make all of the Somalians that came over go back in March.
Okay.
And I need to check into that because then that means he didn't serve his sentence. So about 9 months ago, I wrote a letter to this prison, to Gabriel, and said, I want to come see you. I didn't tell Jay. I didn't tell anybody. And I would go alone. And I know everything he's going to say is a lie. Mm-hmm. But I want to be in the room and to look at him. And, and I want to know if at any point in time she ever woke. They've assured me with just the hammer and what was done that she never knew what happened. And if that was the only thing that was done, she would have lived, but to what capacity? But at any point did she wake up and beg him to save her? At any point did Slim crawl in there? Because, Isaac was in the apartment with Slim in the back bedroom. I don't believe for a minute he didn't hear it. I don't believe that the people above didn't hear it. I don't believe any of that. I don't. So I get an answer, but I knew beforehand the answer because I got a call on it. And then I got my rebuttal that he would agree to see me, only me, not Jay, but he had a condition. And that was the condition of he wanted access to Slim. And I would never agree to that. At some point in time, he's going to rebuttal back and want to. He's going to. I know that.
Right.
And it's just, nobody has to understand why I want to. I just want to.
Wow. So he never got, you never got to see, he never faced a juror.
No.
That's it.
Matter of fact, when the judge was interviewing him, like, what did you do? Because you have to say what you did. He says, I killed her. Who did you kill? My wife. She had to literally make him say Chloe Randolph. Because, in his mind to this day, he does not feel he did anything wrong. I mean, even when he was here in this jail, there's an interesting story because he's involved in a case in Evansville, and I'll have to tell you about that in a minute. But to this day, he has women that send him money in jail.
Wow.
They send him money and care packages. And matter of fact, he went to West Memphis, Arkansas to see a 17-year-old. And her parents were beside themselves when they found out, like, what the hell? So he doesn't feel he did anything wrong because you have to understand that culture is violent. Anyway, not everybody, I want to make sure I say this, not everyone is, but that culture is predominantly violent.
Sure. Believe me.
Okay. Well, and just as a public service announcement, ladies, if you're, and we don't usually get young ladies that check out this show, but even older ladies, you might not want to be getting involved with a killer that kills women. It's just probably not good. There's plenty of other good people out there. And the people that were like married Richard Ramirez, it's like, come on, the Night Stalker, come on. There's people like that. So
he has Love is a Prisoner, which is a, love in prison. And he has, Looking for Love. And it got sent to me and I got to read it, that he values all women. He loves women. He made a mistake, but he sees and talks to Slim every day. That he's never, from the moment he went to jail, current day, he's never had a conversation with him. He's never seen him. He's never been taken to the jail or the prison, and he's never going to. But unfortunately, there are people that believe what they say because they just do for whatever reason.
It's hard to believe that he's got fans. It just blows my mind.
He does.
But even Ted Bundy had it, when he was going through what he was going through.
But an interesting thing, there was a case here in Evansville where a firefighter was murdered. And you can actually watch it on 2020. It just aired April 10th. The Last Call, I think is what the episode's called. I think it's episode 48 something. But the fire chief's wife and her sister's boyfriend, Larry, I can't remember his last name, they participated in this murder.
I saw
And did you see it?
I did.
At the 53-minute mark, that was Gabriel that they brought in because he was in the jail cell in Henderson and he ratted or told on Larry. And so they brought Gabriel from the prison to Evansville. This was about a year ago. And my phone blew up on a Friday night and they said, why is Gabriel in the Evansville jail, Vanderburgh County jail? And I said, well, he's not. Maybe it's his brother. They're not twins. They look alike. So I go to Kentucky Inmate Lookup. He's in the prison. And I go to the Vanderburgh County jail and there he is. He was in 2 spots. So the Vanderburgh sheriff, which is Noah Robinson, the police chief, ours, Billy Bolin, who used to be Evansville Police Department, and then Phil Smith, believe me, their phones blew up the entire weekend. And they brought him in because she was on trial. And they brought him in to testify. So that whole weekend was an uproar. So that Monday, I didn't go to domestic violence court because that case was going on. And I talked to Stan Levko and Diana, who's one of the prosecutors. And I'm like, I understand that family wants justice, but at what cost? I'm not in agreement that you're bringing the killer of my daughter in to testify, because what happens, he's listed in prison and jail. What happens if somebody not understanding and he gets released, something happens? You don't know where he's at. So when that aired on the 10th, my phone blew up again. They're like, well, what's going on with Gabriel in Evansville? And I was like, oh, and then I didn't realize he was on that episode. But so you have to wonder, why does a murderer want to all of a sudden have a conscience and come forward and tell on this one? My first thought was, did y'all give him a deal? Of course, Herbie McKee has assured me that's not the truth. And I hope that's the truth because, I don't want to have to find out that Herbie lied about anything. So we'll see.
Wow. Yeah, that's great.
So
I'll tell you what.
Bring him back to test it because Larry, to my knowledge, has not gone to trial. So I don't know if they're going to bring him back or not.
Real quick, I want to bring Jay on. Jay, your husband, is the second caller in the history of the show. I also want to give a real good shout out real quick before you stop to my aunt Sharon, who lives in Cottonwood, Arizona. If she's still in here, she's super old. She's like 80 years old. I'm so happy you're here.
Sharon.
I love you. I love my aunt. She's like my number. I'm her favorite nephew out of everybody, right? And so I appreciate her being here. And Darren is her son, who checks us out every week. All right, Jay, what's up?
Okay. Well, there's a few things that I kind of wanted to touch on that you guys have talked about. Definitely one of them being, his prison sentence. Okay. My military career, I have a friend, he was in my squad, that actually works for DHS, and he reassured me that at the end of his sentence, unless any laws were changed, that they would go to the prison, they would take custody of him, they would put him on a plane in their custody, they would fly back to Somalia, and once they got him off the plane, then that's it. That's as far as their chain of custody goes. Okay. So I wanted to make that, because I know people are probably going to ask questions like Kristie was explaining about how, they were trying to do with Somalis and this and that. But I also wanted to, make people aware of kind of how our society is. I had a lot of people that I grew up with. Chloe was 18, 19 years old, and I had a lot of people that I grew up with that said, well, I can't believe you're letting your daughter date a Somali. You did 2 tours. And I just can't believe you're doing it. And I said, well, let me explain something to you. I said, first off, she's an adult, so I'm not letting her do anything. She's doing the adult thing. I said, I don't have to agree with it, but she's an adult and she's my daughter. I said, so secondly, understand that. She is my daughter. I said, but I will go further and explain that, yes, what y'all don't understand is, yes, we fought against Somalians, Muslims. We also trained Muslims with our tactics, our warfare. We trained them. So, you know, every culture has bad people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things that kind of I personally dealt with. And, you know, and one of the things that Kristie hasn't explained, so a friend of mine had brought to my attention some emails on some Muslim and white supremacist websites, or some messages on these websites that pertain to Chloe. And so I never did say anything to my family. I didn't until it just got out of hand. And I printed off everything. And I set my wife and my boys down at the table, and I said, I want y'all to read this. Every single bit of it. Because I want y'all to understand that there are people out there that may be making threats, but you can't just take them as, oh, it's an idle threat. I said, you know, you need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to know what's going on. You need to understand that, you know, you don't take the same way home every night. You don't have a routine, because that routine could actually get you hurt. And that was one of the things that I did. And this was not long, you know, after Chloe got murdered. And then, like Kristie was telling you about how they brought him to Vanderburgh County, to the jail. Excuse me. We are signed up for Vine. And Vine is a notification service that is supposed to notify you anytime there's a change. Well, we never got notified by Vine. And the way we actually got notified was somebody contacted my son, Brecken, and sent him this information. We were at the Ford Center, and Brecken calls me and tells me. And I did. I got very upset. And Kristie had to calm me down, because I just couldn't believe that this was happening. And they still have him listed at this North Point facility in Eastern Kentucky, but yet he's in Vanderburgh County. And I'm thinking, you know, did you honestly think we're not going to find out? You know, and Jay said, you've been around me. You know how I am. I'm a very easygoing person. Yep. But that military is always there. And it kicks in.
Yeah.
And, you know, unfortunately, it's like I talked to Noah Robinson, who's a sheriff, and he's a great guy. And he said, yeah, he said, I'm sorry you didn't get notified by Vine. He said, but I'll tell you what, when he's gone, I'll let you know. And I kind of laughed, and I said, oh, so you're going to tell me, you know, when they're picking him? He said, Jay, I can't tell you that. And I said, no, I know. I said, I'm just joking. But when he was gone, he did call me personally, and he said, Jay, he is no longer in our jail. And I said, I appreciate it. I thank you very much. You know, and there's just a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to waste y'all's time. I'm not going to waste all your viewers' time, but there's a lot of stuff that happened leading up to the trial that shouldn't have happened the way it happened. And I felt, you know, Jason, you're in law enforcement, and I felt sorry for the detectives that put in all of this detective work, went down to West Memphis and talked to him from here in Henderson, you know, did everything they possibly could, crime scene wise, making sure everything was 100% correct. And I kind of feel like the way the Commonwealth attorney did was a smack in the face to them, not only to this community, not only to my family, not only to Chloe's friends and Chloe's extended family, but to them as well, because these guys had worked their tails off.
Right.
To make sure it was a signed, sealed, delivered deal. You know, And I mean, he did what he did. You know, he asked me one time, he said, and this was a day that Kristie told you, that I basically had to leave the office, go outside and call my brother because I was very upset. And, but for him to do that, it really upset me. He didn't know who Chloe was. He had a binder. And his exact words to me was, I don't represent you. I don't represent her. I represent the community. I represent the Commonwealth. And I said, who do you think the Commonwealth is? I'm the Commonwealth. She was the Commonwealth.
Yeah. Well, in reality, I don't know. I don't really agree with that either. I think that he is representing you, and he's really, because you are Chloe's next of kin, and they're fighting for you and for Chloe. And so that's kind of a weird way for him to.
And I told him that. I said, dude, here's the deal. And he said, and that's when he said to me, and I'd made this comment, I have the final say, so it doesn't matter what you or your family has to say. And I was like, are you kidding me? So our opinion doesn't matter to you at all. This is why people in this community feel the way that they do. And after the trial, and, he got the 20 years, and he gets, if he can go in front of the parole board 85% of his time, which is 2036. And I had so many people contact me talking about how he treated them and their family in similar situations and this and that, and it blew my mind, because I've always been about people. You take care of your people first. You take care of your community. My father raised me that way. The military taught me to stay that way. And that's just the way I've always been. And I'm not going to change that for anybody. I'm not going to. But, and it's just like the crime scene footage and photos and everything. I got all that after the trial was over. And there's a lot of it, Jason, you have seen, because I sent it to you. I showed you the stuff you've seen. And I know I told you this when I sent it to you. This stuff my family's never seen.
It's horrific.
I'm not going to allow them to see it. They don't need to see it. For me, it's a different story. I've been to combat. I've seen things. I've done things. For them, no. I don't want them to remember their sister that way.
No.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to tell you something, Jay. Amy says that you got a heart, that your heart is big, and it is big. I've met you, and you are passionate about Chloe. You are passionate about what you're running for. Right. And you're both, do you know her?
I love me some Amy Bender.
Oh, really? So
is
she from there?
She's from Henderson. You've met Amy Bender.
Oh, good. Nice. Amy, you got to get out and vote for the Randolphs. It's a double on the ticket, man. You gotta vote yes for both.
She's an amazing woman. She is. Amy Bender is an amazing woman.
She's Team Kristie. She's not Team Jay. She's Team Kristie.
Well, you both. I'll tell you what. I'm excited about the election coming up to the both of you. I want to thank both of you for being open and sharing your story. That's a story that you guys. It's difficult. It's a difficult story, of course, because it brings up a lot of memories, and it's a memory that you live with every day. There's no doubt about it. And you got Slim there too. How old is Slim now, by the way?
7 years old.
7.
I've got a grandson
going on 40, Kristie. That's what he always said. He's 7 going on 40.
I love it. I love it.
But, I also want to remind people, Investigation Discovery they did a series. They did a documentary on Chloe. And I don't know if you guys talked about it before I got on, but they did a documentary on Chloe. They have a series called American Monsters. And it's season 9, episode 5, called Only She Knows. And it was a very well detailed documentary.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's worth a watch. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to learn more about this case, I agree. I thought it was well done. and it tells the whole story from the beginning to the end, and a lot of details in between. And it talks a lot about your interaction with him that day, Jay, that you'd had where I'll let them watch for themselves. I don't want to be a spoiler
and
on
it was the night before. Whenever
Oh,
he
night
took
before.
Slim and said he wasn't giving him back and he was leaving, and so.
Right.
But yeah, watch the documentary and you will learn a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I hadn't seen that, Jason. I'm gonna take a look at that.
What's the name of the show and then the season and episode it is again? One more time.
It's
American
Monsters, and it's season 9, episode 5, called Only She Knows.
Okay.
And it's on Investigation Discovery.
I teach the teen dating violence program in our health classes. I'm in like 5 schools. And so they show that documentary. We used to do it afterwards, but we show it before I get there because they always have questions. And then I teach, I'm realistic. Like I do a curriculum, but I'm also, realistic about what goes on and everything. And believe me, those kids will say things that will just blow your mind sometimes, but they're very open. And so I love doing that.
No, I love hearing that you do that. Jay, I appreciate you coming in and calling in. I think that let us know on the comments if you guys like the call-in portion of this. Yeah. I think it's kind of cool to add a little voice in there.
Really cool.
We'll see. I mean, I liked it so far. I think it's good. We had 2 epic callers. I know them both, and they both did very well. No wackos allowed. Okay, that's the one thing. If you're a wacko, you're going to get cut off quick. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't have any wacko patients. None. Yeah. We didn't have that tonight, so that's good.
Man, it's got the clicker.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, Kristie, I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing your story. I think that the citizens of Henderson, listen, educate yourself.
Somebody wanted to call in. I don't know who that is. Said, I guess I can't call in.
Well, who was it? Real quick.
I don't know.
I'll tell you what. Oh no, that's Amanda. She's behind the curtain. Let me tell you something. No, you're not a wacko, Jay. You got your head screwed on right. I know you do. So, but I'll tell you what, you're passionate, and I love this. And to tell you the truth, I think that this is good that you came on, ladies and gentlemen. If you're living in the Henderson area, is it Henderson County or is this going to be the city of Henderson?
My race is Henderson City.
Okay.
Jay is Henderson County. You have to live in District 4 for him.
Vote. You got to vote.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in somebody else, then fine. But educate yourself. Yeah. Personally, I'm just telling you, you got to educate yourself. Don't just walk in there and check a box. Take the time to look and explore who these candidates are. I think you're doing the right thing here by giving us a little bit more about who you are. I want you to share away. You can share this away on your website. I'm glad you came here. It's always great to have you here. I'm looking forward to meeting with you in the next few days. It's going to be right around the corner. It's this week coming up.
Are you coming in early ahead of Saturday, ahead of Troy's event?
Well, I'm going to be driving past Henderson like on Friday, probably, or Thursday. So I may give you a ring when I'm driving through. And so for sure. And then I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm excited about seeing you, and you can meet my wife, and I'll show her Henderson a little bit. I'm definitely going to show her that. And then we'll drive on.
Put you in the best spot to stay in. Troy put you in the barn.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've told my wife about that Airbnb many times, and she's like, yeah, it is pretty epic. Magistrate District 4.
Yes.
That's what Jay's running for. He's mentioning it here. And I do have an update on my son, Travis, and thank you for asking. Travis is a Muskogee police officer. By the way, there's a retired Muskogee police officer. I can't remember his name, but Travis, he gave me a little extra of a deal. He works at 511 up here in Tulsa. And he said he remembered me from a murder back in the day. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to give you 20% extra on this. And I was like, thank you, sir. I love that. And so I was very happy. Update on my son. My son just completed week 8 of the Oklahoma Highway Patrol Academy. And the next time I do an episode, 24. So he's hit the 1/3 mark. He said he actually had a really good job. And he had a really good week rather. And he had a really good week, and it's not Travis White. Actually, Travis is the cop from Muskogee, but my brother's name is Travis White, and he's definitely not in here. I can promise you. But I'll tell you what, he's doing good. He's doing good. He's hanging in there. And this next week that's going to be coming up, week 9, he's going to be doing shooting. And so I'm happy for him. I'm so proud of him. I'm excited. I got to tell hey, by the way, hey, Danny, where the heck did you get that mic? Because you got all kinds of crazy stuff going there that looks really expensive.
Hey, I bought it on Marketplace. That's where you get stuff.
Yeah, you do. You get really good deals there. I've gotten some deals there myself. I got to tell everybody a quick announcement. A real quick announcement. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this tonight. I'll maybe talk about it a little bit more. I'm going to be hitting the streets. I'm leaving homicide, and I'm going to be leaving. Yeah, I know. Well, hey, listen. When I say that, I got to tell you, I'm still going to be in the world of homicide. I'm still going to be in the Homicide Investigators of Texas. I'm still going to have a serious friendship with the North Carolina Homicide Investigators Association. I'm going to speak on homicide from coast to coast. I'm still going to be involved. I'm still going to travel a ton. Matter of fact, by going to the streets, I'm going to be able to do even more. I'm going to be available to do even more. And to tell you the truth, here's the deal. I'm actually welcoming this. I'm going to be working in East Tulsa, and I'm going to be, we'll see how it goes for a little bit. And I'm going to do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm still going to teach a bunch. Yeah, I know it's a big, oh,
So
wow,
you're
wasn't
gonna
it?
be a street cop, like a regular street cop, like patrol officer?
I am. I'm going to be the regular. I'm going to be in a uniform. I've got my uniform hanging right over here. And, but I worked homicide for 17 years. And the fact of the matter is that, I'm tired of being on call. Honestly, I'm sick of it. I've been on call for half of my life. Honestly, I've probably seen more dead bodies than I should have, honestly, to tell you the truth. And it's not that I don't love it. I love the world of homicide. I'm still going to talk about homicide on this show, and I'm still going to teach on it extensively. But I will tell you that I'm not going to be a part of that unit any longer. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to be going to fire department. You know what? If I was younger, I would try out for the fire department, Tyler, because that's another job I wanted to do. I'm just too old. All these jobs I wanted to do, I'm too old for now.
I never wanted to be a firefighter. But Jason, you earned that detective. You should carry that from now on as many years.
I am. Well, I'm not changing. I'm not changing my website name. I'm not changing my.
No. How many people can say? How many officers do you know that was a detective that long?
I've been in detective division almost 20 years. Yeah. It's time for me to do something different. I got 7 more years if I can stand it, and so hopefully I'll be able to stand it and so forth. But if anybody's wanting any more tours out of me, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to be down there. I'm going to be working in East Tulsa, and then we'll see how it goes. And if I don't like it out on the streets, then I'll look at other avenues and other possibilities that maybe another agency altogether. We'll see. But for right now,
part-time, like will you be working?
No, I'm working full-time. No, I work full-time on the streets. I'm going to be answering calls.
To that position.
Huh?
When do you go to that position? When will you start?
May the 11th will be my first day on the streets.
Okay.
And I haven't been in a police car in 20 years that's got like lights and sirens on it, which is going to be kind of fun. So I'll just drive through the city with that going for a little bit to get No, I'm just kidding. Listen, I'm not jumping over any fences ever. Okay. But I am going to do that. And I'm just making mention of that. So it's a good thing. I'm very happy and I'm excited about this new part of my career.
Join the gang unit over there in Tulsa.
There's going to be
a gang unit.
An absolute 100% no to that. And I'm not doing that. I hate working gang cases, but I still know a lot of gangsters, and no doubt I will have some fun with them as well. But I'll be working the day shift, so I will be on patrol. So you may see me if you live in the Tulsa area out and about. And I'm still going to teach, and I still teach a bunch, and I'm still going to be going coast to coast. And that's a good thing. And I'll have a lot more time doing it. So nevertheless, stay tuned in, because just because I'm going to be out on patrol doesn't mean I'm any less dynamic. And this is going to be great. And it's going to give me more time to do this as well. So it'll be good. I'll spend more time, and I can be a grandpa where I needed to be. I can be more of a grandpa and more of a husband and more of a I'm really more worried about my son who's in OHP's academy than I'm worried about myself. This is going to be a good thing. I'm actually very happy about this move. and I'm excited, and I will keep people. And plus, it'll make for a great chapter in a book, and I'll tell you all about that part of it, my life. It's actually going to make a few chapters, and some people may not like parts of that chapter, but it's going to be told, and I promise you it will be in its entirety, and I'm completely honest. And thank you, Phyllis. I better not lose you as a fan, because you're one of my number one fans. And so I will leave it with that tonight. I don't want to keep anybody else. You guys have been very patient to hang out as long as you have. Sharon, if you're here, Sharon, you know I love you. She's my aunt living in Cottonwood. I hope it is a good show. Hopefully everything is going well with you and your health. Thank you for joining us. I hope to see you in the future. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be in Indiana. It's Camp Atterbury, but you can't go because it's on the military base. Actually, my wife can't even go on there, so she's going to have to do something else. But it's going to be on the Army base. I'm going to speak there next week, and then I'm going to leave from there, and I'm going to be in Cadiz, Kentucky. Listen, right. Troy Belt, running for jailer in Trigg County.
Barbecue.
Go Troy.
He's serving barbecue, and if you want to meet me and Troy, really Troy's the star of the show, but I will be there, and if you want to come up there and meet me, I'll sign something for you. I'll take selfies with you. I'll take a selfie with you and Troy. It'll be epic. Me, Troy, and Kristie. It'll be epic, and it'll be fun. And so please join us at that event, and the more the merrier. I want it to be packed. And Tyler, I'm not going back to the burn unit, although I loved it there. It's a great place. And actually, I would have probably, if they'd let me go back there and just do some debridements. I actually enjoyed that place. But anyway, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for hanging in there. You've been sticking it out. Most of you have stayed in here the entire time. This show is not a show without you. Remember to follow me on Detective Jason White or DET Jason White on TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe. I'm everywhere. I want this to grow. We're at like 3,655 followers, I think, subscribers to this channel. I love it. I want more and more and more. We're going to, and then until the next time, I think we might do I'm going to have to probably do a pre-record or something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I might have to do a pre-record, or maybe I don't know what I'm going to do, but next Friday is going to be kind of a tricky one. And after that, it should be rocking and rolling. We'll be rocking and rolling regularly. And I've got some.
You can go live from Katie's down there with Troy.
I really can, and I can, and I might, and so maybe we'll do that, and maybe we'll do that. That sounds like a good idea, and we'll see. And Kristie, I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you and hanging out with you and Jay. I don't know if Jay's going to make it. Absolutely, and hopefully Jay can make it as well. And until next week, thanks a lot, Danny, for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
and
it really was.
To everybody out there, what now? It was it was fun.
Thank you, Kristie, for being an advocate for what you do. That really means a lot.
That's right.
It really does. Thank you for doing that.
Well, I always say there's nothing that we can ever do that changes March 23rd, 2019, but what we do going forward prevents the next Chloe.
That's right. Get out and vote May the 19th. Do not sit on your couch. Don't sit on your couch. If you're city or county of Henderson, Kentucky, get off the couch and go vote. Okay. Right. Or go from work and go vote. Please do it for me.
Yes.
Do it for Kristie. Do it for Jay, please. I wouldn't, I'm endorsing her. I think that she would make for a great candidate, as would Jay, and give them a look, and please give them your vote if you get a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody being here. And until next time, and thank you to Amanda behind the curtain and Chris DePerno, who's watching this back there, and he's the big wig. Until next time, take us out, Amanda.